Yo, what's up? Welcome back to a brand new video. I'm Jay Eskar, and today I'm going to show you guys how I created my newest song, Lost and Found, together with Thandi. If you don't know, the song sounds like this. To me, the things that stand out the most are synths and also the clap. So I'm going to go through that. Chords sound like this by themselves. And it just stays like that. This is how the MIDI looks like. Of course, it's a layer of a sub. You guys know the sub. Of course, it's the sub that I always use for everything. And I've actually added this to my packs if you want to check them out. And there's also another bass. Simple saw bass with a lot of legato. Processing wise, I mean, it's just making it mono, and for the main lead slash bass, for the bass, I'm actually making it wider with stereo shaper. This is how it sounds without anything. It sounds wide enough, but not as wide as I wanted it to. And I'm also using a vital for the main sound, which is, in this case, I used the bass as a sort of like synth slash chord. This is how it sounds like. What's really special about this sound is that I'm making a melody. Basically, the melody is what actually is triggering the bass to sound almost like juicy. When you play two notes together, they sort of like fight, and it starts to sound like, since it's a Reese, it sounds like it's going, when it's going up, it's faster. That's what Reeses usually do. And when you play basically a melody, let's listen to just the bass line. That's how it sounds. As you can hear, it's moving like a Reese, but it doesn't have that much movement to it. And when you add other notes on top, this is basically the same technique I used on To The Top. If you listen to The Top, if you watch the video of how I made it, you'll see that it's very similar to how I created that. It's basically using a bass line as a chord or synth. I'm not sure how I would really call it. I think I would call it a chord, because you're playing almost three notes. Sometimes I'm playing three notes, but in this case, I'm just playing two notes. The trick here is to play a very low note and a very high note, at least 2 octaves in difference, and they create something very special. Let's listen to it again. As you can hear, like, this part sounds like, compared to this part, that one sounds a little bit like, it's almost like it's ringing too, but it's not moving that much as the highest note on the melody. And I don't know, next time you're working with new presets, try to use them in a different way. Like, just because it's a bass line doesn't mean you have to use it as a bass line, you know? And if I had this melody 1 octave lower, it wouldn't sound as good. Listen to this. It sounds good, but it's not as tense, and the melody's not as modular. Is that a word? I don't know if but it doesn't move as much. And of course, when you put everything together, what I'm doing to the main sound is just basically making it wider and adding some compression, some distortion too, which I can't even see for some reason. Camera Crusher crashed. And what I'm using for sidechain is just Kickstart 2, and I use the first preset that you can get there. And I'm also using a clipper here, soft clipper, and I use it pretty much on everything. But this is how it sounds. No effects. Very similar. It's just not as wide, and you want it to be a bit wider. There you go. So that's it for the sounds, pretty much. I've got a layer on top that is also part of my Vital sample pack at store.jayeskar.com. And this one's like a grainy pad. I think I called it grainy. I did. Sounds like this. As you can see, this one also has a lot of movement. It's almost. When you add effects, I pretty much got rid of the highs, I think. As you can see, I got rid of the highs. I think there's a filter happening, but I think it's around like this. I think that's how it's sounding in the drop. And I'm using the dimension expander to make it wider. Sounds pretty good when you put them together. It fills out those frequencies that the main sound isn't filling, especially on the highs. Sort of like creating a bit of texture. I think if I open this, it's gonna sound better. Pretty cool sound. The synth is constantly moving, and there's a reason for that. I'm actually automating this over and over again. This filter. Watch this. That's why it sounds like dum wom wom. It's a very, very subtle change, but it makes a huge difference in the end. And I mean, if there's something to teach here, is always try to add automations that will help you keep your synths moving and sounding more human-like. In this case, like whenever you're playing a violin, you're not perfect. It's not like you're playing it at the same rate all the time. There's always subtle changes, and then like when you try to add more emotion to it, you make it move, you know? And that's what we're doing right now to it. I think drums are gonna be something very, very interesting. There's a lot of layers for the drums. This is how it sounds. This is the main kick. This is a layer, a very wide layer, and this is another layer. This one's creating a bit of punch there, but it has zero. It should have no lows, but when you look at them, this is how they sound. Without space, with space, without extra punch, with extra punch. They complement each other, and that's another tip. Like if you want your sounds or your songs to sound a bit more interesting, not like everyone else's, layer stuff. If you don't know how to create a kick from start, or like from scratch, layer it up with something else, you know, and that's gonna really, really take it to another level. After the kick, let's listen to the claps. That's how one of the claps sounds. Second clap, and then the third clap. There's something very interesting happening here, and that is the first two claps are not creating any like harmonics. Like they're just creating a small. Listen to this. They're just helping you create attack to the clap, but the main clap sounds like this. As you can hear, it has zero attack. It's just like a whoop whoop almost. And when you add this, it makes it sound like it's just one sound, and that's what you're trying to make here. You know, they're all being routed to a drum out, and I'm using a Cashmere Essentials to give it some body, some air, some details, tape distortion. I'm doing a lot of things to make them sound like one, you know. And there's something very interesting here. The main sound, the main clap, sounds like this with effects, but without effects, sounds like this. Effects. If you listen to the whole drum loop without any effects, this is how it sounds. That's boring. And with his effects, it almost sounds like a frog. That's something my girlfriend was telling me. It almost sounds like a frog. And when I'm doing this is an isotope trash, which is basically distortion. This requires like a video for itself, but distortion can really take your sounds from one place to basically another dimension. Like you wouldn't really recognize this original sound. And I suggest you guys, like, if you want to learn how to create your own sound design, your own, like, not just for drums, but also for like actual basses and shit like that, like, try distortion, bro. Distortion can really take your sounds to another level. Nobody else is going to be able to replicate that unless they with distortion, it's like if you change 1 cent on something, it's like it changes the whole like tone of it. So make use of distortion. That's one thing. And that was not all of it. We ended up adding some hi-hats. And then another one. As you can hear, this hi-hat is creating some highs. And this one is creating more like mid-highs. And when you put everything together, it really creates a special atmosphere here. I mean, the vocals are also playing in the background. You don't really notice this, but there's ad-libs in the background. And it's just playing over and over again. Now, what else do we have? We also have some effects. Of course, it's a white noise with just a sweep down. Very, very basic, you know. And I mean, if I show you guys that already, it's basically pretty much of all the drop. I mean, it sounds like the drop is super basic, and it really is, but when you add little details, that's what makes simplicity entertaining. You know, like adding automations, like adding also adding on the second part of the drop, I'm also adding an ARP. Sounds like this. If you open this, of course, you'll see that it's also a plug from my Vital pack. It's called Ruplux do Sol. You might know why, but I created this plug for my pack. If you want to check it out, again, it's at store.jayeskar.com. It's my Vital sample pack. This is how it sounds with the chords together. This plug has, I think, a lot of reverb. If you can see the effects, it has a lot of reverb and then a lot of delay here. It's a very simple bass. It's a very simple plug. It's just the sine wave that is being distorted. That's it. Yeah, I mean, for the drop, that's pretty much it. Like, we don't have much else. We're also adding some ambience. Listen to this. Sounds beautiful, I think. I think it sounds really cool. And it gives like a more mystical, more like nostalgic, almost like missing someone, you know? That's the feeling I get. I don't know. And on top of it, we got the vocals. The vocals are extremely amazing. This is how they sound like. Never the same when you're not around. Oh. Caught your wave and I feel it now. We're lost and found. I've got so many things on this. It's insane. It's like the main vocal. Let me. Never the same when you're not around. This is how the vocals sound like without any effects. I think they sound pretty good the way they are. Because one very important aspect of just getting a good end result is getting a good raw sounds. You know, when you record properly, when you're not like, I don't know, in the middle of traffic trying to record your vocals, then it's gonna be able for you to mix them. I'm sorry. It's a very heavy project, but it's what it needed, you know? It's a very heavy project, but it's what I felt it needed. You know, the vocal has a vocal rider as NS1 just to get rid of some of the noise. Also a triple D just to de-esser, an RVox, Q10, some compression, some multi-band compression, and CLA 2A, which makes it sound so good. Like the tone of it is so good. And then a true verb for the main lead. We got doubles, we got ad-libs. This requires a whole video for itself because it's so complex. Like the process of mixing vocals, it's so complex. And just so you guys know, I'm gonna be creating a course where I'm gonna be teaching you guys how to mix and master a song from scratch. Doesn't matter if you have a big studio or if you work at home, just like I do. I'm going to teach you guys all the basics and all the advanced techniques too, intermediate techniques. Like, we're going to go through the whole thing of it. We're going to get from zero to an end result just like this one. Of course, I'm going to be sending everyone stems and everything, all the necessary things. And I think it's going to be good. So stay tuned for that. A course where I teach you guys how to mix and master. It's going to be available on store.jayeskar.com. So stay tuned for that. Okay. Now, breaks. What are the breaks doing? They're honestly just doing the same thing as a drop, but I'm low passing everything. So it sounds like this. This is actually a piano. I think it sounds gorgeous. And this piano is from Flex. Very simple. Of course, if you look into it, it's a simplified version of the chords, you know, of the original chords. But then we introduce them on the second part here. And it's opening. Nice. And then we got a bass line too. As you know, the breakdown starts with a kick. Chest kick. Really cool one. And then of course we got the main sounds too. Everything is low pass here. We add some impacts. And for the breaks. And then we repeat the same thing over and over again. For the second break, I added the arps, which got introduced in the second part of the build-up. I mean, in the drop. Sound like this. And we just repeat them. Of course, we also add more drums to the second part of the break. Or to the second break. My computer is dying for no reason, but remember, something very important with vocals is making sure they're on grid. So that's what I did, spend a lot of time on it. You basically add a metronome. Someday. And you make sure that every single phrase is exactly on the grid. And especially when you add doubles, you want to make sure that those doubles are being pronounced exactly at the same time as the main lead, because it's very important. And I mean, that's it for the song. Like, second drop starts just with the main lead filtered and just a kick. Let me remove the metronome. I'm not touching it. My computer is completely dying. Whenever I record, it just gets too crazy. Mastering wise, I've got a another EQ to get rid of the high notes. Then we've got a match EQ, which is, we're using a pink noise as a reference. Pink noise is supposed to be the most balanced wave there is. So I'm using it as a reference to make sure our song sounds balanced, you know. Then we got an EQ again, where I'm boosting the highs, just adding some high frequencies, but it's also making them wider on the sides. And then we got imager. I'm making everything below 144 hertz mono, and I'm making the highs a bit wider. I'm also using an L2 Ultra Maximizer with a 0.5 threshold just to make sure it's not reaching all the way up. And then we got a TR5 suite with a crazy chain. We got a dynamic Dyna MU, which is a compressor / limiter. Then we got equalizer. Then we got a compressor. Then we got a stealth limiter. And that's where we get to, you know. And then at the end, I've got a sausage fattener at 1%. Of course, you know. That's it for the song. It's pretty much it. It's a very simple song, but it's a very, I spend a lot of time on every single element to make sure it's not boring. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm really happy that Future House Music decided to release it. I think it was a great decision by them because it's a very special song. And yeah, I know it was a different track from what I usually make, and I still hope you guys enjoy it. Sometimes less is better, and I think this song is a great example of that. Like, you don't have to break your head too much. As long as you create a good melody you can work around it and even create a full song with it. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed and learned something. If you want to check out my sample packs, they're all at store.jayeskar.com. And if you want to connect with me, all of my socials are Jay Eskar. I'll see you guys around, okay? Very possibly this week, I'm going to be creating a shit ton of videos. So I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.